إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده. قد قال تبارك وتعالى في كلامه المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا وسندنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: من صلى علي صلاة واحدة صلى الله عليه بها عشرة، وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. رب زدني علما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. سيدنا سليمان على نبينا وعليه الصلاة والسلام, he is on one journey, taking a check of those that were meant to be traveling with him. And he had appointed leaders from every group of his army. So from the men, there was a leader, from the jinn, there was a leader, etc., etc. At one point during this journey, Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam wanted to camp and stop with his army. But due to the sheer number of people and creatures and birds that attended with Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam had to choose very carefully where he stopped. And one of the things that he had to be particular about was that when he stopped, it had to be at a place where water was available. So he inquired with the chiefs of the different sections of his army that who would be able to direct him towards an area where water was abundantly available, or if they knew of where water would be underground, so he could ask the shayateen, the jinn, to dig up that area so that water was available for the army. The humans, the chief of the humans responded that they were unaware. The shayateen, the rebellious shayateen that were under the control of Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam were also unaware. And they opined to Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam that the task that they wanted, or that Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam had requested completion for, and to find this water, there was someone amongst the vast army, or something amongst the vast army of Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam that was capable of finding that out. And that was a bird termed the hudhud bird. Most commentators of the Holy Quran, they mention that the hudhud, its English name is the hoopy bird. And traditionally it's been known to be able to, through a talent and a gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed it with, to be able to source water underground. And so Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam summoned for the hudhud to present itself so that he could give it the instruction. وَتَفَقَّدَ الطَّيْرُ فَقَالْ مَا لِيَ لَا أَرَى الْهُدْهُدْ. In Surah Al-Naml, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, when he inquires in relation to this bird, he's told that we don't know where it is. Couldn't find it. Now one thing, though difficult to understand, is that despite having such a vast kingdom, and specifically with relation to his army, such a huge camp that would travel with him, Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam was extremely disciplined. And it was not possible for anybody who was meant to be amongst the ranks to be missing from them. So if Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam had instructed for a particular person or a particular animal to be present in the travel of that army, then unless prior permission was taken, there would be no tolerance shown by Sulayman and Nabi Sallallahu for that disobedience. And with the birds that would travel with Sulayman and Nabi Sallallahu, the instruction was very clear. Any absence, anyone that was not there, that was meant to be there, faced two punishments. One is that their wings would be clipped so that they would not be able to fly again. And their beaks would be removed to make it difficult for them to hunt. And they would be then given the option: either roam the world, the earth like this without being able to fly and hunt your own prey, or لَأَذْبَحَنَّ, or if you prefer, then you'd be slaughtered and consumed by somebody else. So a very strict policy by Sulayman al-Nabi. If you were meant to be there, there was no leeway of not being there. وَتَفَقَّدَ الطَّيْرُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, when he inquires for this hoopy bird, the hudhud, he's informed that it's not there. فَقَالْ مَا لِيَ لَا أَرَى الْهُدْهُدْ أَمْ كَانَ مِنَ الْغَائِبِينَ. So when Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam is told that he cannot present itself because we don't know where it is, he's enraged. That discipline that he has set is broken and he is absolutely furious with respect to it. أَمْ كَانَ مِنَ الْغَائِبِينَ. Is he absent? So Sulayman alayhi salatu remarks, لَأُعَذِّبَنَّهُ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا أَوْ لَأَذْبَحَنَّ أَوْ لَيَأْتِيَنِّي بِسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. That when I get hold of this hudhud, one of three things will happen. Either it will receive the punishment that I have set for birds that are absent, the clipping of the wings, the removal of the beak, etc. أَوْ لَأَذْبَحَنَّ, or it will be slaughtered. I will do dhabah of this animal and it will be consumed amongst other food. أَوْ لَيَأْتِيَنِّي بِسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. The only way that it will remove itself from the predicament of being punished or being slaughtered is that if it comes to me with some solid proof, with some reason that I accept. Without this, only one of the two options will be exercised. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, فَمَكَثَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ فَقَالَ أَحَطْتُ بِمَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ وَجِئْتُكَ مِنْ سَبَإٍ بِنَبَإٍ يَقِينٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then relays the account of Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wassalam and the queen of Sheba, Saba, that's relayed inside the Holy Quran and also has biblical references from the Bible, etc. That when this army was traveling, the bird, because it's in the sky, it noticed something from above which drew its attention. It saw a huge castle. So as the army was slowing down, getting ready to camp, the hudhud decided to veer off, as it was someone that was trusted by Sulayman al-Nabiyina sallallahu. Imam Tabari rahimahullah mentions that for each part of the army, each section of the army, there was an appointed leader, a chief. So from the men, there was one person that was appointed as the chief. From the jinn, there was one that was appointed as the chief. From the kingdom of the birds, Hudhud was appointed as the chief. So he had a very, very close relationship with Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam. So because of this closeness, when he saw something, he thought to himself that subhanallah, Allah has appointed Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam as the Nabi of this time. He is also a king. What is another kingdom in this area doing? Why is there another kingdom? So he veered off from the rest of the army to investigate. It's many historians, there are two opinions. From the Islamic perspective, the understanding is that this area, the Queen of Sheba, she presided over a people near Yemen. In modern day Yemen, an area of that was where the Queen of Sheba ruled. Biblical references mention it as an Ethiopian ruler, someone from Africa. But from Islam, the perspective is that the Queen of Sheba was a queen in Yemen. So when Hudhud reaches there, it sees the castle and it sees the huge, massive garden behind the castle. So as its nature, it flies into the garden and it notices another bird similar to itself, another whoopie bird. So it sits down beside him. And now there's a conversation that takes place between the whoopie bird of Sulayman and the one that is in the kingdom of Sheba. So the whoopie bird belonging to Sulayman inquires that, what's this castle? What's this big garden? Why are you here? So the whoopie bird belonging to the Queen of Sheba, her name being most mentioned as Bilqis. The whoopie bird, he mentions that this castle, this garden, and the entire kingdom belongs to and is under the control of Bilqis. And so the hudhud bird says, another kingdom during the reign of Sulayman al-Nabi, number one. Number two, imra'atan, that the kingdom is being ruled by a woman. So the hudhud of Bilqis says, why are you startled by this? So hudhud responds that, do you not know, are you unaware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent a messenger by the name of Sulayman? And the instruction to all, man, jinn, animals, birds, it's to be subservient to this Prophet of Allah, and in turn being subservient to Allah Rabbul Izzati wal Jalal. So he said, I didn't know, I'm unaware. So Hudhud, taking this whole scene, this bewilderment of, number one, another kingdom during the reign of Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, and on top of that, they are being ruled in that time by a ruler that was not normal. It wasn't of the norm that a woman rule over men. And so he takes this and he returns. As he's returning to Sulayman al-Nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, before he reaches Sulayman alayhi salatu wasalam, some of his friends meet him and said, oh, be careful. He says, why? He says, you do not want, unless you have a reason, you do not want to go next to Sulayman alayhi salatu wasalam. You do not want to meet him. So he says, what? He said that Sulayman alayhi salatu wasalam has said that unless you have a justifiable reason, you're literally being cooked. Either he clips your wings, removes your beak, and sends you to roam the earth with no purpose, or you're tonight's dinner. One of the two. So Hudhud, confident with the reasoning that he had, presents himself in front of Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam. فقال أحطت بما لم تحط به وجئتك من سبأ بنبأ يقين. He says, Ya Sulayman, before you do anything, understand that I have come to you with information that you don't have. Prophets of Allah are not alimul ghaib, are not knowers of the unseen, they do not possess ilm in its entirety. The only entity that has that is Allah Rabbul Izzati wal Jalal. So though the Mufassirun, they mentioned that though Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam knew of other kingdoms, he wasn't aware of the specifics of what was happening in this area. And that's why he was traveling. The purpose of the travel was to find kingdoms that if they weren't subservient to Allah, that make them subservient to Allah. جئتك من سبأ بنبأ يقين. I've come to you from Saba with absolute knowledge and information. There is no doubt in what I have to tell you. I'm not making up stories to save myself from the predicament that I'm in. What I'm about to tell you is definitely the truth. That إني وجدت امرأة تملكهم وأوتيت من كل شيء ولها عرش عظيم وجدتها وقومها يسجدون للشمس من دون الله وزين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم فصدهم عن السبيل فهم لا يهتدون. The Hudhud says that I have come to you from a place called Sheba in Yemen, close to where we're camped, and there I have found some astounding information. Number one, I found a people that are being ruled by a woman. And she has been given an abundance of things. وَأُوتِيَتْ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. She has been given from every element of the ni'mah of Allah that you can imagine. وَلَهَا عَرْشٌ عَظِيمٌ. And she has a grand throne. Inshallah we'll get on to that, as that's part of the discussion later on. This leads to her accepting Islam, this throne, and an incident between Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam and him. Number one. Number two, I have found that she and her people, they prostrate and are subservient to the sun, other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Shaitan has made this act of theirs look good in their own eyes. And thus, فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ. He has prevented them from the straight path, turned them from the straight path, فَهُمْ لَا يَهْتَدُونَ. And they are not guided. So Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wassalam, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent to Banu Israel and the areas around it, to propagate this da'wah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to bring people towards Tawheed, to remove people from the worship of other than Allah to the worship of Allah, is then taken aback by this statement. That, people this close to me are worshipping other than Allah, prostrating to the sun? And there is a verse afterwards, I won't repeat it because it's an ayah of sajda, in which he elucidates the reason of why one should worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If only. So Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam says, fine, I'm going to test what you have told me. Is it the truth? Or is it something that you've made up to save your skin? So Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam decides to send a letter from himself to the Queen of Sheba, giving one instruction. إني ألقي إلي كتاب كريم إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا تعلوا علي وأتوني مسلمين. That this same bird is then sent with a letter, that it travels to this castle, goes into the room of the queen Bilqis and drops this letter in front of her, and it leaves. She opens the letter and she says, Ya ayyuha al-mala, inni ulqiya ilayya kitabun kareem. One of the qualities of Bilqis was that despite being a leader, in the sense that she was the queen, and overall her decision was the one that counted and mattered, she would never take decisions without consultation. Never would she make a judgment without speaking to her trusted confidants, those that she had trust in. أفتوني في أمري ما كنت قاطعة أمرا حتى تشهدون. That I never make an absolute decision until you provide me with your opinions as well. Until you are present and tell me what you want to tell me. So she calls these trusted confidants, those that she had trust in, and she said, إِنِّي أُلْقِيَ إِلَيَّ كِتَابٌ كَرِيمٌ. That a noble letter has been sent to me, إِنَّهُ مِن Sulayman. That this letter, it reads that it is from Sulayman, ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, wa innahu bismillahir rahmanir rahim, and that he begins the letter by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by saying that he begins in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and his message to me and you is, Allah ta'alu alayya, that do not rebel against me, wa'tuni muslimin, and come to me in submission. Meaning submitting to Allah Rabbul Izzati wal Jalal. So this message of Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wassalam to me and to you is that we need to leave the practice of worshipping other than Allah and come to worshipping Allah. So the consultants, the ones that were giving advice to Sulayman, to Bilqis, say that look, just like he has an army, we also have an army, and we will fight to the death for you. You don't need to worry about our resolve in terms of backing you. نحن أولو قوة وأولو بأس شديد. We have strength and we are tough fighters. والأمر إليك فانظري ماذا تأمرين. But the matter is up to you to decide. So choose what you want us to do. So Bilqis, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had gifted great thought to, extremely practical. She said, no. Fighting the likes of Sulayman, who they have heard of, who has an army, the distance of which covers 300 miles. The army consists of men, the army consists of jinn, the army consists of animals, the army consists of birds. How are we going to defeat them? And once they enter into our lands, they'll pillage our lands. There will be nothing left. So she said, let me see whether Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wassalam is really true in his call that he only wants us to submit to Allah, or is he actually like other kings who simply want our lands? That the reason that he's here and the reason that he sent his letter is the letter because he truly wants us to call us to Islam, to submitting to Allah? Or is he actually after something else? So she decides that to test this resolve, the best way to test someone's resolve in terms of their honesty is the dunya. it corrupts at times who you perceive truthful people. Dunya, the greed of money, the greed of wealth, the greed of jewelry, the greed of it destroys people. And people who present themselves with cloaks of honesty turn out to be absolute crooks. That's the truth. And so Sulayman alayhi salatu wasalam is sent in abundance of wealth by Bilqis, with that objective that I want to see whether wealth turns this person from this claim that he's calling to Allah. And if that's the case, then there's no need to listen to his call to Allah further, but instead we will then stand firm on defending our fortress and our castle. So she sends. And inshallah next week we'll discuss what is sent, how much of it is sent, and what is Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam's response. That the greed of the dunya, is it something that can turn a prophet of Allah? No. In fact, when this wealth is presented in front of Sulayman ala nabiyina alayhi salatu wasalam, he becomes enraged and he's insulted by the notion that you think that my call to Allah is going to be obscured and you're going to make that flimsy with some material of this world. Like when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was told by the chieftains of Quraysh that if you forgo this da'wah, if you stop calling our people to Allah, we will make you the richest person in the Arabian Peninsula. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if you put the sun in my one hand and the moon in the other, it would make no difference to me. Meaning, if you gave me the entire world and the universe with it, then my da'wah would not stop even a moment in respect to what Allah has commanded me. So Sulayman al-Nabi, how he responds, what he says, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, then inshallah we will carry on with that in next week's Jumu'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant me the understanding, all of you the understanding. Wa akhiru da'wan, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullahu khairan.